I know the state has been taking this extremely serious. I know they've been having conversations even before the new legislation that passed at the federal level around the 2018 Farm Bill. I mean, look, they had settlements with Cookies and with MC Nutraceuticals from years ago saying, don't fuck up again or you're going to run into bigger problems. And so the rooster came home to roost.
Hey everybody, welcome into our latest Traded Black podcast presented by Dutchie. I'm your host, Shad Dales. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, as we get ready for the big holiday weekend. Big news of the last week in Denver, where a facility was raided by DEA agents, the Howe processing facility. Why did we bring this up? Well, they got direct ties with MC Nutraceuticals, who's at the centerpiece of this whole hemp intoxicating product scandal. It's been going on for a long time. So we'll find out why this was raided, what was involved, and we'll bring in Trent Woloveck to discuss earlier and what this means for the hemp industry, because there's a lot of storylines within it. So with that, let's welcome in AV here on a Wednesday. Good to see you.
It's good. It's good. We'll do it live. We'll do it live.
Yeah.
It's been nothing but headlines since the hemp ban, I guess, went into effect. We're seeing DEA raids. We're seeing companies kind of try to navigate what the next 300, I think Adam Terry posted every day now, 354 days, we'll call it, look like until the future of hemp is finally just killed.
Yes.
And then we're also seeing a civil war between the hemp industry, which is nice to see. Lobby against yourselves, eat each other alive, do what you got to do, but the future of the industry is probably not going to look like what it did before the CR passed. And we're in a completely different world.
And what's ironic in all this, as I said off the top, Howe Processing out of Denver, they were raided by DEA agents and worked closely with MC Nutraceuticals. And we've heard Brett Worley say a number of times about how the industry is about education, ethics, legality, and in a lot of ways, I'm not surprised. But talk about putting your foot in your mouth. But yeah, rather ironic that this happened when it did, but just another reason why this had to happen. And again, this is a controversial issue, but what are you going to do in a situation like that?
Timing is everything. And I think his hubris is one of the main reasons why people have so much vitriol towards him on LinkedIn. I think he's the quote unquote self-proclaimed largest distributor of cannabinoids in the US. Congratulations. I mean, your business is got a death date. Maybe if they went about their business a little bit more low key, to say the least, they wouldn't do this. But there's been raids in Miami at smoke shops since the ban. There were ICE raids and DEA raids before the ban took effect in the CR. This is a trend that is going to continue in the coming months, and it's going to keep happening until we see a retraction of the hemp industry around THCA products and synthetics, and the industry as a whole. If there isn't some sort of Hail Mary carve out for, let's say, 5 milligram beverages and edibles.
Well, this is one of those I told you so moments, I think, because like you said, if they were a little bit more low key, maybe it'd be handled a little bit differently. But regardless, this processing facility, it was reported by Denver News. It was indeed raided by DEA agents, and they are actually partners with MC Nutraceuticals. So when I bring up the whole told you so, let's bring in the Chief Strategy Officer of Jushi Holdings, Trent Woloveck, back to the live stream. Good to see you. I'm sure that you saw this news last week, and this has been a lot of conversation and language that you've been using for quite some time. So as Anthony said off the top, timing's everything, and rather ironic this timing happened now, less than 2 weeks after this hemp ban went through. But I'm sure you thought, this is one of these I told you so moments when you first found out about this news.
Yeah, good afternoon, gentlemen. Thanks for having me on. I think it's unfortunate that we have to continue to see this happen. The enforcement around what is now law, by the way, because the CR was signed by the president. The businesses have 354 days left to wind down. But what's in law now is what is in law. I think the important thing is it shows the legal system, the judges, law enforcement, local regulators, that what the legislative intent was of the Farm Bill,
Yeah.
and so I think that's why you're continuously seeing enforcement around these things. There was just a massive raid also in Tallahassee where um, people were paying younger men and women to transport hundreds and hundreds of pounds every week between California and Florida just to have them push it into um, the smoke and vape shops, the hemp stores
Yeah.
in Florida. And so, we're going to continue to see, um, the enforcement happen. And I think you're going to see big businesses that may have been part of the supply chain, whether that was shipping and or e-commerce platforms like Shopify, get hip to this pretty quick. And we'll see how long it lasts.
Yeah. Well, when we look at this, as I said off the top, MC Nutraceuticals, they promoted about education, legality. This is a, again, it's one of those situations where a big foot in the mouth, I look at it. But when you look at this, to me, it just seems like they were deflecting scrutiny. Now that it is a reality and this law has been basically implemented, you're seeing a lot of scrambling amongst the hemp industry right now. But it's just rather ironic that you go to these kinds of levels to talk about the legality efforts that they were doing while they were doing this business. But yet when you have a direct partner that has a DEA raid involved in all this and what they found, there's no wonder this industry right now is in chaos, right?
Yeah, but by the way, it wasn't just DEA. HSI, so Homeland Security,
Yeah.
as well as the EPA, were part of the long-term investigation. It wasn't just a raid. It wasn't just, hey, let's go in and look what they have. This was labeled a long-term investigation, and so on top of the DEA, there were other um, enforcement arms that would lead you to believe Homeland Security, so items that were happening outside of the US, as well as the EPA, so stuff around hazardous chemicals. And so um I again, all alleged. I'm not sure what it is, but you can read and you can educate, and you can only hide behind the truth for so long
Yeah.
until it comes out in this day and age. And so, when you talk about HHC and you talk about THCP and you talk about all of those synthetic cannabinoids that are mixed in with heavy metals and pesticides and all the damage that does to people that want to consume a natural plant like cannabis
Yeah.
with THC, and throwing all of that into the mix, well, that just has no place for the industry that a lot of us have been building for you know a long, long time from a state regulated perspective.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you're going to get called out for your bad business practices, and
Yep.
Do you
that's going to
expect to
continue.
see? Do you expect to see more of these raids in Colorado? I mean, Colorado's a big market. Colorado's got a lot of infrastructure. I'm sure that you're not going to have everybody that's operating above board in a market like that where there's just vast infrastructure, especially on the cultivation side. I mean, do you think that we'll start to see TCO crackdowns in Colorado like we have in Maine and other jurisdictions? Or do you think that the Colorado market more has been better to, let's say, insulate itself from nefarious activity popping up within their industry?
Now you're gonna make me throw my home market under the bus. Um,
That's why I asked. I knew
but
you
no,
were
I,
there.
I like yeah. No, I like look. I know I know the state has been taking this extremely serious. I know
Mhm.
they've been having conversations even before the new legislation that passed at the federal level around the 2018 Farm Bill. I
Mhm.
mean, look, they had settlements with cookies and with MC Nutraceuticals, from years ago,
Yeah.
saying, don't fuck up again, or you're going to run into bigger problems. And so, the rooster came home to roost, quite
Yeah.
frankly, for a couple of those businesses. To answer your question, yeah, I think Colorado's a little bit more educated and ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have to adjust their safe harbor platform a little bit now to line up a little bit more with federal law. I think you're going to see, California with all their burner distros, um, everything that was feeding THCA flower through that channel. Oregon, you just saw Hemp Nova actually get raided out there by, national law enforcement, federal law enforcement, and so, all that being tied to a hemp farm out there that's owned by a Chinese nationalist. Yeah, this is just scratching the surface from all the information that a lot of people have worked really hard on to continue to educate and shine light on. Um, it's just the tip of the iceberg. There
Well, it's
is a
funny.
lot more coming
Yeah.
down the pipe.
Like,
Yeah.
what have you heard in Washington? You were there last week, but this clearly the examples that you guys are using, like these are examples as to how much this is a priority right now for this administration, because, the law was just implemented within 2 weeks ago. And you're talking about number of raids, California,
Well,
Florida. Sorry, go ahead.
Passed. It won't be implemented for another 354 days.
But the perception out there is things have changed, and these are the raids that are taking place. So this is clearly a priority, and it's happening fast. Is it not, Trent?
Yeah, look, I mean, we're in litigation because Anthony's right. It doesn't implement for another 354 days,
Yeah.
but that doesn't protect people that were selling illicit marijuana through the 2018 Farm Bill.
Correct.
And so now that law enforcement at the local level, at the state level, at the federal level, know and understand and have been educated on this a little bit more, I think you're going to continue to see these raids ramp up. I mean, quite frankly, over the last 6 months, it's gone from literally like one a week to like one a day
They're frequent
to now it feels like it's one every hour, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to absolutely continue. I think you're going to see not only enforcement pick up, but also the platforms that have been enabling these businesses go away quite fast and quite
Yeah.
quickly. And what does that mean? What does that mean? Let's just take Ohio, for example, that just passed a hemp piece of legislation through the House. The Senate will come back on December 9th or 10th, pass that piece of legislation, and the governor will sign it. What does that mean? Well, we know that about $1 to $1.2 billion of hemp product was being sold in that state, intoxicating, synthetic, through C stores, through hemp stores.
That's a lot of money.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
Guess where all that's going?
Where's it going?
Back into shops that have age-gated, standardized, tested product that was grown in Ohio, processed in Ohio, and being sold through Ohio stores.
Yeah.
To people that are over the age of 21 that should be that should have the choice to consume safe, standardized, tested THC when they want to.
Good find.
So look, the Michigan market definitely eats a little bit of the Ohio market.
Yeah.
But as somebody who grew up in Ohio, who has 6, soon to be 7 stores in Ohio, who's soon to be litigating in Ohio, who's done secret shopping in Ohio, it is everywhere. We have small mom and pop businesses in Ohio that have done it right through the regulated cannabis industry, that did medical, transition to adult use, and who were getting their lunch eaten by these people, by these bad actors. And so
Is it
They
the
were
same
straight
thing?
selling cannabis.
Is it the same thing as like what you see in Florida? It's just a smoke shop that sells pretty much everything.
100%.
Yeah,
You see it.
100%.
See in
And
Michigan
by
too.
the way, they're not. Yeah, they're not. Oh, by the way, they're not just selling hemp-derived Delta 9. They're
they sell
selling
everything.
synthetic cannabinoids. They're selling 7-O. They're selling kratom. They're selling whippets, nitrous oxide, if you want to call it, whatever you want to call it. They're selling psilocybin. They're selling mushrooms. I mean, they're selling anything and
psilocybin?
everything they can get their hands on.
They're selling
100%.
Wow.
I mean, I've seen
100%.
there's mushroom dispensaries in Toronto that sell straight psilocybin.
Yeah, you're right.
Out of them.
You're right.
Just go on the distro.
That is wild.
The distro.com. They literally sell mushroom caps on their website.
Yeah. Wild. Okay.
So I don't think that survives the scrutiny of law, quite frankly.
So there is estimations this is close to a $30 billion industry. And once this, as you said, Anthony, this law is basically comes into law with 300 and some odd days. This industry, they're saying it could shrink as much as $5 billion from 30 billion. So what's next? Because when I was in Washington last week, we've had some guests on in the past about the two industries basically forming a coalition and working with each other. But how, like, is that even like, has the train left the station? Like that opportunity has passed? Because like, how will that even actually work? Because right now it looks like hemp's going to go back to potentially its roots, which is why the 2018 Farm Bill passed, which is all about, industrial and that angle. But how do you see this all panning out between the two industries?
Was that
Are you
for me
asking Anthony or myself?
That's for Trent. That's for Trent. Sorry.
Oh, well, I don't know. That's on hemp to come back to the state regulated market and tell us what they think they actually want to achieve. Because, I have somebody like CBD American Shaman who is on the board of US Hemp Roundtable. I have, somebody like Al Processing that's also pretty integral in that. Hemp Nova, who's also pretty integral in that. I have somebody like, Cornbread that's kind of integral in that. I don't know who to talk to, quite frankly. That's the decision maker within that group. I've heard, hey, we want beverages. Hey, we want gummies. Hey, we want this, that, and the other. So I quite frankly don't know, who the leading voice is on that. I also, would say, it's tough to understand. It's tough to understand.
I know.
Yeah,
what it is they exactly want.
The only way that it makes sense is if it's a coalition with the overarching strategy of achieving descheduling of cannabis, because any other way, we've seen some of the leading companies in the hemp space, like they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to go back to what they just had for the last 8 years with not being subject to 280E, being able to use credit cards, being able to do interstate commerce. That is no longer achievable, and that's no longer going to be permissible under law in the United States. They also need to just come to the table and say, guys, we were selling illegal marijuana for 8 years.
Yeah.
The gig's up. Like THCA flowers are complete ruse. Synthetics really have no place in the market. Low dose edibles, 5 milligrams, 2.5 milligrams, beverages, and gummies, naturally derived D9 products. They've got a place within the industry, but they're going to need to come under the same licensing structure that the MSOs and that the state-run businesses operate under. They're not going to have some, well, you can do low-dose edibles that are still D9 THC derived, but you don't have to pay 280E. You can basically do whatever the hell you want, and you can.
Anthony, what about seed to sale? What about seed to sale tracking? So I know where the biomass all comes from. Because I can guarantee you, a lot of that stuff, nobody knows where that came from.
No one does know. No one does know. If there's going to be the two industries coming together, there needs to be congruency an agreement on what the regulations are going to look like.
So
and seed to sale is
here's
a part of that.
Here's a wacky idea. Why don't they get their Delta 9 THC that's been naturally derived from a state seed to sale tracking system wherever they want they want to manufacture their product, and then they can go into their distribution. It's the same thing I've always pitched to hemp.
But that makes sense. In a descheduled world, I don't think you're going to be using hemp.
What world are we living in where we get deschedule?
I'm saying I'm saying under the preconceived notion that the industries come together. I'm not saying descheduling is happening anytime soon, but the only way that it would make sense is in a deschedule.
We can't even get a reschedule, let alone safe, let alone climb, let alone. I mean, I can go on and on and on. Oh, by the way, they tried to get the hemp language removed from the CR process. That got voted down.
Yeah.
Not by a little, by a lot. There were more people that wanted to kill hemp than wanted to actually reopen the government. Let that sink in for a second. 74 or 76 people voted to remove and lay down Rand Paul's amendment versus 60 that wanted to reopen the government. Let that sink in for a second.
Yeah, that's a big number.
Let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah. Well, it's rather historic as you're seeing this topic. Like, this was a fight on the Senate floor amongst Rand Paul, who else was that? Jeff Merkley, and then you obviously had Mitch McConnell. But one of the takeaways I got from last week was that there wasn't so much discussion and debate about whether or not rescheduling happens. It's the timing of it all, which people don't know. But do you feel strongly with this decision that was made and how much it voted in favor of this hemp ban? What does that mean for cannabis reform? I think that's where a lot of people attend. Like, what is going to be the next steps? What is the outcome here? Does this have any implications whatsoever?
This was not about cannabis, not about state-regulated cannabis. This was about intoxicating products that had no regs, no oversight, and no standardization, no age gating. This is something that one lawyer took and morphed into a Frankenstein, quite frankly. This was not about THC cannabis. This was not about state programs. Let me ask you a question. During all these raids, how many state licensed retail stores have been raided?
Right. Good point.
Zero.
Very good point. Good point.
Like, I don't understand how people are confused about what this cap on THC meant for products that are derived from hemp.
Well, I think people that follow the space aren't confused, but when you're seeing a lot of these people like Bill Maher and others,
they definitely are. They definitely are confused.
Yeah.
Our analysts don't understand this. How do you not understand what $30 billion that needs to go back into the regulated industry equates to from a sales lift for the regulated state cannabis industry?
Yeah.
Where's that? Where's somebody wrote about that?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I just gave the math on Ohio alone.
How much upside potential do you see that then, as far as the regulated market? Because a lot of the perception out there is just going to drive people back to the illicit market. I guess that's the easy common sense thing, but I don't necessarily agree with that.
That's a scare tactic that was used by hemp people that wanted to just shove that messaging down people's throat. There are 40 states that have medical cannabis programs in the United States. Charlotte's Web, of all people, should understand that. They started as a medical cannabis operator in Colorado.
Yep.
And now they want to be like, oh, well, we're going to lose full spectrum CBD. Well, guess what? Full spectrum CBD means you have, anywhere between 5 to 150 milligrams of THC. Get out of here. I consume cannabis. I take 5 milligrams and I am high.
Yeah.
And I'm not a small guy.
Right.
I'm not a small guy. And so I don't understand people that want to try to continue to spread that message. Do I think some people are unfortunately going to have to go back to the illicit market? Yeah, but why don't we push for regulated markets or expansion of regulated markets in a state like Texas? I mean, what about in North Carolina? I mean, John Bell, I'm assuming, he understands cannabis a lot better now. Why can't we have a medical program there? I think it's asinine to say everybody's going back into the illicit market. That couldn't be farther from the truth.
Well,
We have 25
where I was going earlier is
we
to
have
say,
25 states. We have 25 states that are adult use and 40 that are medical.
yeah,
If you
I hear
want
you.
to consume THC, get it through one of those programs.
Well, look, it's a hot topic, and there's a lot of education that has taken place in Washington. This has all happened. That's where I was kind of going with this. You had something of this significance, got a lot of attention, has made news across the country. What does this do for the regulated cannabis market and for reform is where I'm going with this, because, at the end of the day, if you obviously want to get some sort of regulation, you got to clean up a lot of this garbage that was taking place, which is clearly happening and will happen. So that's kind of an idea as to where I was going. But I know you're trying to separate the two conversations right now, but truthfully, I do think it's a huge step in the right direction for the regulated market when you think about Washington and how they may view this come next year. But that still remains to be seen. Anyway,
Yeah, as we've always said, we want to normalize cannabis.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the goal that has been for the industry for years upon years upon years. And we appreciate people that have wanted to continue to push those boundaries. But at the same time, you have to play, under the guise or under the rules and outlines that have been provided.
yeah.
You can't. There is no such thing as a shortcut in cannabis. There's just not.
There was.
There's
Not anymore.
well, but no. See, past tense was.
Yeah.
There never was one. There they thought they had one, but there never was one.
Well,
That was very clear. That was very clear in the conversations that were being had while they were closing this loophole. And it was 100% a loophole that didn't take into account the regs that had been put forward by the USDA.
yeah.
That's at the end of the day where the miscalculation was.
Well, to Anthony's point,
Total THC.
To Anthony's point, there has been shortcuts in this industry, but we all know the outcome and where it lies ahead. And hopefully I think just the big thing is people just need to understand the industry a little bit more clear and be educated more. And when you have topics like this discussed, it's a step in the right direction because it's a conversation that's being had. Whereas, in the years past, there wasn't really much going on, which is why these loopholes lasted as long as they did for 4, 5, 6, 7 years. But here we are, 2025. Last week, we were in Washington. We had the biggest names in the entire industry all in one room. This was a hot topic. So was reform, among other things. When you were there, what was the big takeaway for you, for those that weren't obviously able to attend that? Because anytime you get the biggest names in one room, I think people that invest in this space turn their heads and want to know what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, like I said on stage, it felt like Christmas morning to me. It felt like we finally had clarity on the direction that we as market leaders needed to continue to push. And I continue to feel very positive on the administration following through on what they said around rescheduling. This is about being able to do research. This is about understanding what cannabis can or can't do. No more of this mixture of hodgepodge of gas station weed and synthetic cannabinoids. We need to look at what a true naturally derived Delta 9 THC molecule does and has impact on people. We know it. We know what those terpenes do. We know what those minor cannabinoids do. We all know it, that have been working so hard in the industry to normalize it. It's time for us to be able to quantify that and push it forward. Plain
Yeah.
and simple. That's
Yeah.
what rescheduling does. This whole idea that, oh, it hands it over to pharma. Trust me, if pharma wanted rescheduling done,
It'd be
it'd be
done.
fucking done by now.
Yeah.
And so that's a total farce. It's a crawl, walk, run method, just like we have done in this industry for 15 years. And this continues to normalize it at the federal level. It doesn't remove the guardrails that states want to put forward on whatever they choose and how they regulate and oversee cannabis in their state. And it's a logical next step. It's a walk method, if you will,
Yeah.
to get to run. And get to run is full descheduling of cannabis. Let me make no bones about that. That's what run is at the federal level. There's normalization, but you don't go from crawl to run a marathon overnight.
This
It
industry in
just doesn't
some
happen.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, the people view this industry from an operation standpoint at times into investor standpoint. It's get rich quick. But look, I can sense frustration on how this industry, what they did and what's being portrayed out there. And you're out trying to educate people on what's right and what's wrong. When you look back at this, like, how do you view what this whole situation and the impact? I know it's two separate situations, but they still are brought into the same language, which is why it's being misconstrued amongst many people. But what do you think when something like this happens has an effect on the legal cannabis industry? And what do you say to people pertaining to that?
Yeah, look, I think you had and you continue to have prohibitionists, real prohibitionists, not somebody like me who gets labeled a prohibitionist, but real prohibitionists like Sam, continue to conflate all of the bad actors that were leveraging the 2018 Farm Bill and what the state regulated market was doing. And look, I'll say it point blank. There was a champion of the of the of the closure of the loophole that 100% didn't understand at the legislative level, didn't understand the difference between the illicit hemp market and the state regulated cannabis market.
Correct.
That education has happened, and so people had to realize the difference. And we've just started that, and it's not going to stop. And I think we now have the platform to be able to share that message and show the right way on how cannabis should be normalized, both at the state level, but also at the federal level.
Yep. If you want change, the rumble comes first, and that's what we're in. But on the other side are solutions. But you can see the intra-fighting that's going on in the hemp industry right now for obvious reasons. We could see this coming, but I think it's a great opportunity for the cannabis space to really showcase what they've been doing for a period of time and really how it can grow from here. But some lessons learned, to say the least. So anyway,
yeah, we'll continue. We'll continue to be the adults in the room.
Yeah.
We'll just put it that way.
Yeah. What do you got on the agenda for Thanksgiving?
I'm down in sunny Florida, enjoying some warmth, getting out on the golf course,
Nice.
and eating some turkey.
What do you think?
Maybe I'll get to sleep. Maybe I'll get to sleep a few hours too. By the way,
what are you thankful for besides this hemp ban this year?
Oh, yeah. I am seriously thankful for my company Jushi and all of the employees that have allowed me to take a step back from our operations and continue to educate folks about what's right in cannabis and what's
Yeah.
wrong in cannabis. And so we continue to, crush it from a fundamentals perspective. We've teed ourselves up in multiple different markets for a transition from medical to adult use with Virginia and Pennsylvania. And so I'm just very lucky to work for an organization to where we have the bandwidth, quite frankly, to be able to help and support and spread everything that this plant can do.
Yeah, well said. All right, my friend. Well, it's good catching up with you. Great take. And I think it's important that people understand what's right and wrong and the messages that are being cleared out. But that you had some great examples and you bring a lot of passion, which I get. And for somebody who's been involved in working for the regulated market for quite some time, it's like this is what needs to be communicated. And now that it's becoming a topic of conversation, now's the most important time to make sure that that messaging is right. So appreciate, obviously, all the feedback. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family and all the team at Jushi. And let's keep in touch. Okay, my friend?
Thanks, gentlemen. Enjoy the holiday. Take care.
You as well. Thanks, Trent. Hey everyone, thanks again for watching here today. Listen, if you're getting value from us here at TDR, make sure to check us out at TDR Plus. It's our exclusive membership community. Why? Well, you'll see CEO interviews that go beyond business, showing a personal side that you won't find anywhere else, including the biggest names in the industry. Plus, you'll get insights from analysts and day traders on where the industry's headed, both short-term and long-term, and a direct chat group with our team. It's only $7 a month, just 25 cents a day, and it helps support everything we do here at TDR. If you want to join, just click the join button below and become a TDR Plus member today. And once again, a big thank you for being part of our community. So that's it for today. And again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.